Welcome to Active Citizens Parliament. My name is Sharon Enemchuku, and joining me live in the studio for the conversation, I have with me Miss Ifoma Oji. Good evening, and how are you doing?
Good evening, Sharon. Good evening, Nigerians. I'm doing great as always.
All right, and now we're going straight to the stories that we have for today. We're seeing a viral video coming from Mr. Peter Obi about the present state of things and how this administration has been the worst administration ever. Let's have a look at that video and come back to the studio.
Said and continue is the worst ever in our dear country, Nigeria. Today there's no governance in Nigeria. The legislative arm is at its worst. The judiciary is no longer hope of the weak or the poor. We all know insecurity, killings and abductions is worse than even countries at war. Just in the past 1 week, 34 in Kebbi, Wednesday, Thursday, 50 in Zamfara on Friday, and today, even while we're speaking today, over 20 already in Adamawa. 6 is all over the country. I just mentioned a few. Poverty has increased dramatically in the past 2.5 years, from 87 million to about 140 million today, the highest in any country on earth. In fact, we now have almost over 30% of all the world poor living in Nigeria. We now have more people living in Nigeria, a country of
So that video from Mr. Peter B, all of those facts, all of those data that he listed, the fact that Nigeria's economy is at its all-time worst at this point, if I can call it that, and also the fact that we have millions of impoverished people living in Nigeria, and all that he mentioned. First off, let's talk about those things that he mentioned and he spotlighted first off.
Okay, see, I don't want to sound like I am downplaying what he just said because it represents the truth, but we know inflation is biting. We know the reform that is supposed to bring about a lot of development is stalling. We know that Nigeria is now listed among the topmost the weakest or poorest countries in the world. We know all those things. See, if Nigerians are already aware of these things, and Mr. Peter Obi don't have to keep on talking about it every single time. Yes, he's an opposition party, he's meant to do these things, but what are you doing about it as an opposition party? That's just what I am talking about. Yes, we've seen him protest, we've seen him say one or two things, but what are the alliances that you're forming? What are the strategies you're employing to ensure that this does not continue from 2027? Those are the questions that I would like to ask. I wouldn't really want to throw light into how impoverished Nigerians are. I wouldn't want to throw light on how the insecurity have really eaten into the fabrics of Nigeria. I don't want to do that. I just want to see him form more alliances. I just want to see him really strategize, really like.
That's where my question is.
That's just what I want to see him do, not this.
What are your expectations from the opposition for people like Mr. Peter B. Atiku? You said you do not want to see them coming out to talk about the situation on ground, but you want to see them do more. So in your own opinion, what is the more for you? What is more for you?
Okay, the opposition party APC now have formed City Boys movement, even though it's not Tinubu that formed it, but it is his son, so you could invariably say it's Tinubu that formed it.
Yeah.
And they are kind of mobilizing people from different states, from the east most especially. And not just that, you saw the Electoral Act amendment. You saw what happened there. What moves? I'm expecting him to talk to, even if he's the minority leaders, because I know that there are majority leaders in National Assembly are mostly APC. But I want to see at least that minority that is there. What are they doing? Let them work. Let them try and see if they can amend this Electoral Act. What are you mobilizing?
Just
the grassroots.
Just to be clear, right? You talked about the electoral reform bill and all. We also remember that this morning we talked about the fact that opposition leaders, which includes Mr. Peter B. Atiku Abubakar, called for an amendment of that electoral act bill, but the Senate shut it down. So just to add to what you were saying,
I remember we said that, and I remember when we had that topic, that particular conversation, I said, why is it that they are reacting now? They should have reacted immediately.
Apart from the process Mr. Peter B. partook of.
Yes.
Okay, apart from that process,
yes, immediately they passed this, they gazetted this. They're supposed to react as an opposition party. It's as if they are just relaxing. Okay, see what happened in FCT during the election of the is it local council, something council or what?
The AMAC.
Yes,
election.
The election that they conducted in Abuja. I was really expecting that the opposition party will mobilize people to ensure that there is free and fair election in Abuja, just Abuja. If we can't have free and fair election in Abuja, what do you think that 2027 will look like the entire 36 states?
But you don't think that is impossible, because according to the constitution, INEC is the only body that is recognized to conduct elections. So it is up to INEC to conduct whether it's free, fair election or a rigged election.
What happened to party agents? What happened to mobilizing a lot of Nigerians? Yeah, we know that there was curfew on that day, which we are still asking or testing if that is actually right by the FCT Minister of Abuja to actually do that or place curfew in Abuja. But what we are saying is, imagine mobilizing about 1 million or 2 million Nigerians to go and ensure that this place is different polling units, that there is free and fair election there. Refuse whatever rigging process or electoral malpractices that they want to carry out over there. Those are the things that we wish to see the opposition party do, and not always coming out to make headlines, not always coming out to talk down on the government. We know all these things. We know that the government is terrible. We know all these things. What exactly are you doing about it?
All right.
There's so many things to do.
Still having a conversation, I want to talk about the fact that you said you want to mobilize party or election observers. We remember during the last election we had hundreds of observers, both international observers and local observers, and I kept saying, oh, with all of these people observing things, how come the electoral umpire, that's INEC, cannot take from these things that they have observed and work on it to make it better? It seems as though with the number of observers that we have, we still have a repetition of those mistakes. So is it really a problem of observers or a problem of implementation on the part of INEC?
I think it's both. It's the problem of observers and then implementation. Now, on the part of observers, if you notice that there is something illegal going on during election process, you take it up. Not just coming out to report it on social media, you take it up, follow it, ensure that there is repetition of that particular act. But what happens here in Nigeria is that we really do have short-term memory, in as much as at the heat of the moment we react at the heat of the moment, but after the heat of the moment we forget and let everything die down. And then on the part of the electoral amendment, talking about the executive and how they have really infiltrated the Independent Electoral Commission, it's I don't really know how I'll keep on talking about this every single time, but I'm just going to say this quite quickly. The Electoral Act of 2022 have caused a lot of harm to Nigerians, and bringing it back, it's I will still mention what I said earlier, that it's just a coup on the democracy if the opposition party have a lot of governors at their disposal, why exactly are they fighting to ensure that they don't amend the Electoral Act of 2022? It's really, really sad that we are always hammering on these things. I just saw one of our comment sessions saying, as a journalist, what are we doing about it? And we as journalists, we cannot act beyond talking about it and ensuring that Nigerians get to hear what is happening, ensuring that Nigerians hear that, okay, this is the new bill that was passed in the National Assembly. This is exactly what the opposition party is doing, so that they will be abreast and know how they can take actions against the present administration. That is our quota. That's what we are doing as journalists.
And then talking about the Electoral Act, we're going to move on to the next story, where we're seeing pro-INEC protests rocking Abuja despite the Electoral Act rule. We're seeing that even after the protests that happened during or before the emergency plenary that brought about us seeing the new Electoral Act bill being reformed and it being passed into law by President Tinubu, we're seeing that after those series of protests spearheaded by the likes of Randy Peters, Mama P, Mr. P2B, we saw Rotimi Amiche in attendance, we saw Obi Ezekwesili in attendance. Now there's even another protest that we're getting that happened in Abuja today because of the same Electoral Act. So after the opposition leaders came and asked and demanded for an amendment of the Electoral Act bill, we're seeing now that other Nigerians have come out as well to protest under the aegis of the Arewa Grassroots Leaders Assembly, marching from the National Assembly complex to INEC headquarters in Abuja. And it is interesting. I like that they also marched in front of INEC, because when you look at this, I don't know much that the INEC chairman has said regarding all of this, because it was them that said, oh, they put this into the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, that it is a possibility of electronically transmitting election results. And it seems as though somehow the Senate has trampled down on their voice and imposed on them their incapability of electronically transmitting results because of network issues. And we've really not seen the INEC chairman, the new INEC chairman, Joash Amupitan, come out to say anything as regards this case. But let's talk about that. What do you think INEC on its own should be doing at this very moment?
INEC should be standing independently. INEC shouldn't be allowing any form of infiltration from the executive, judiciary and other arms of government. It's supposed to be an independent electoral commission. That is how it's supposed to stand. Now, I remember that 8 years ago, I think that should be Mike Igini and his co-hosts came out to tell Nigerians that is 93% environment for them to transmit elections electronically. And this is 8 years ago. This is 2025. After 8 years ago, we're still talking about a network in some areas. There is no this one, there is no the other one, and we're coming back to manual collation since 8 years ago. And INEC has not come out to say that we cannot, or they cannot transmit election results electronically, but it is the Senate that is making laws for INEC now and trampling, just like you said, on their independence. And as a democratic nation, it is not how we're supposed to be. And I don't know if I should start crying out to the international bodies to wade in on this. We have other bodies that come for what do they call observation during election. I'm really looking forward to hearing them at least talk about this whole issue that is going on in Nigeria. But I'll just say this.
Before you come to that, right? I have a question to ask, and I want you to tie it with your final remarks on this story before we move on to the next story. Because this protest, I'm seeing that they're doing this in acceptance of this new law, saying that it is good, right? What do you say about the division with Nigerians? A group of Nigerians are saying we need this act to be amended, we need this law to be amended. Others are praising the electoral umpire, they are praising the Senate, they are praising the president. We sort of have that divide. What would you say to that effect?
Okay, the people that is praising the present administration, most especially the likes of Sheyi Law, who came out to say that Nigeria is better than 10 years ago, They are all in the opposition party. They are all in APC. And that is why they are chanting and singing praises of this administration. The moment they step down, if they are key notable holders in the society, especially the elite, if they step down from APC, I promise you that EFCC and other anti-graft agencies will come after them. And that is when they will start crying foul about the harm that APC have done. El-Rufai has come out to say his own part, that yes, he remembers supporting the APC, but right now that he cannot go back, he's taking all those things that he did back. And I will just say this: the person that is always in the glass house and he keeps on throwing stones, one day the reverse will definitely be the case, and those stones will return to be thrown at you. If you feel like you are in the position of power now and you can literally do anything you want because you have money, you have the machineries, the time will come whereby, maybe I will not talk about revolution right now because I know that one is still beaming up, but talking about you stepping down from that seat of power, you definitely step down from that seat of power, and this whole thing that you did will still come back to haunt you at the end of the day. I'm talking about this Electoral Amendment Act. I remember in the morning when we were having this conversation, I said the protest should not just end at the National Assembly. As opposition party, we are supposed to do more. You're supposed to do more. They mobilize people that will go to the houses of these people. We see INEC, yes, go and do protests in INEC. INEC cannot do anything because INEC has been chained by the executive. They literally can't do anything. Anybody in chains cannot move. So it's left for us to take the protest to their houses. I feel like if they do more as opposition parties, you will see at least this whole electoral amendment, you see it coming to the favor or responding to the willingness of Nigerians. But if we continue this way, nothing, there will be no fruition for this at the end of the day.
And still speaking about opposition and just the law of karma generally, we're taking a look at a video from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar on the role he played in forming APC and how much he regrets that act right now. Let's have a look.
A note of caution. You see, we did this exercise in 2014. Not so. We came together and formed APC because we felt democracy was faulty in 2014. Only for us to end up at the same position we found ourselves in 2014. If worse. Because 2014, the major challenges was insecurity here and there, economy, and so on and so forth. Now it is even worse than what we fought in 2014. So we must have that in mind, that in the event, and we must succeed to make sure that we restore true democracy to our country.
That is Atiku Abubakar discussing the impact he played in finding or bringing about the party APC, just because they thought in 2014 under Goodluck Jonathan that democracy was under a huge risk. But unfortunately for him and his counterparts, they found out that they were at that same position that they were at initially. And you know, this particular conversation has been an ongoing one, even with El-Rufai coming out now to complain from the cave of the FCC and DSS, just complaining about them running down on his rights, human rights, and searching his house and him being accused of fraud. Now we have Atiku Abubakar, who was one of the founding fathers of APC, coming to regret said actions and how right now democracy is being threatened. We remember that Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter B are currently in the same party, and also in 2023 Atiku Abubakar ran for presidency but did not win. We also saw that Mr. Peter B right now also has joined the ADC, and a lot of people are just imagining what would have been the result if the likes of Mr. Peter B and Atiku Abubakar put their differences aside, came together and formed an alliance. Would they still have lost in 2023?
No. It wouldn't have happened. I would have even loved it if Mr. Atiku Abubakar rested and acted as a statesman,
True.
then supporting Mr. P2B for his run in 2023. If that had happened, they would have formed a formidable alliance and opposition figure that I don't think that Mr. Tinubu can, be able to, fight.
And do you think they learned their lesson that 2023?
I think they didn't really learn their lessons, because they've not done their convention and they've not even chosen who is going to hold the ticket for the 2027 election. And with what I'm seeing now, Mr. Atiku Abubakar is refusing to step down for anybody. He has reiterated it not once, not twice on socials that he's not stepping down for anybody and he's running for presidency. And the same thing with Mr. P2B. He's equally come out to say that he will run for the seat of the president. So it's as if they know that they are in the same party, they have the same interest, but do they really have the interest of Nigerians? Is one person ready to step down for other persons to scale through for the interest of Nigerians? That is what I'm here to understand.
Who is willing to let go of their personal ambition to step aside and look at the greater picture? And that really is the question Nigerians are asking. Now, when you go on X, you would see a lot of people, because of this particular video, saying that the reason why even Atiku Abubakar is saying all of these things is because this particular administration is not benefiting him, or he's not the one at the helm of affairs, that is just rotational. They want their turn at the seat of power. Now, let's talk about that. The fact that even though we are asking for a new Nigeria, we still have our old politicians at play.
When this ADC was formed earlier, I said maybe this set of people have realized the mistakes and they've realized how they crippled Nigeria to the ground and they want to make amends. But after seeing the way they are going about this whole campaign, trying to trample on each other's rights, the internal crisis and the rest, I told myself that this set of people are not ready. It's just we keep on recycling old leadership and old mistakes. And a tree that always bleeds will always, or a tree that cracks will always invite axe to it. And it's literally what we are seeing now. These people are not ready to lead Nigerians. They are not ready to respond to the agony and pains of Nigeria, because if they are ready, this whole thing we are hearing about Mr. P2B coming out to do this one, Atiku Abubakar coming out to do this one, Rotimi Amechi coming out to say I'm contesting for presidency, we will not be having anything like this. If they really mean well for Nigeria, you will see all of them rattling at the back behind one particular candidate and fronting that one candidate to deliver Nigeria from these squabbles, to be honest. But they are not ready.
And then that would have been amazing to see, but the lack of unity in the opposition is really one key point that has kept them in the position where they are currently, even with the ruling party doing everything possible. I still believe, alongside a lot of Nigerians, that if we had some level of unity in the opposition, we'll be having a totally different conversation right now. And also going forward, right, what would you say, apart from the unity now, we are seeing that unity does not exist amongst our opposition politicians. Do you now see 2027 playing different from 2023 elections?
I'm still going to lean on the path of hope and wish that they are going to set their differences aside and their stomach infrastructure programs aside and work for the better good of Nigeria, and which is fight for the Electoral Act of 2022 to be amended, not a plus, not a maybe, not a provide to, but for the e-transmission of electronic results. Ensure that these states that have been attacked, that you seek accountability from the government and seek that something be done about it. In I think that should be Kwara State, a certain citizen, that should be an American worker, came down to Nigeria to say that the houses they built, or that the money they've been sending to the government, that they have not accounted for it and they've not rebuilt the communities of these people. So these are the things I expect the opposition party to be doing: seek accountability from this present administration, and a lot of policies that they've come out to shove on the faces of Nigerians. What are the fruition? Where are the implementation of these laws? Because it always always ends up, you hear that this new law, they've enacted this new law, that this particular one they implemented in, but at the end of the day you see that everything dies down. So these are the things and more that we want the opposition figure to be doing in Nigeria, for us to see, okay, at least that Nigerians will have that trust that at least these people are ready to fight for Nigeria, and you see Nigeria rallying around them to ensure that they clench the ticket, or they clench the win for 2027.
And I do agree that the opposition have not set the precedent for Nigeria to really trust in their abilities and their readiness to do the undoable in 2027. It's going to be history in the making, where you see a ruling party lose in an election. So now that we're still seeing things like this, it just shows that they are not yet ready to carry the trust of Nigerians right now as it stands. But we have to call it a wrap on the conversation today. Thank you very much, Ifeoma, for joining us on the conversation today, and of course to our viewers, thank you again for watching. If you're watching for the first time, this is Active Citizens Parliament, where we discuss Nigerian politics. Do well to follow us across all social media at Active Citizens. Till we see you next week, do have a pleasant evening.